International Superstar Soccer Deluxe is a unique arcade style of soccer game that originally started off life on the Super Nintendo or SNES and the Mega Drive back in 1995 and early 1996, and was later ported to the PlayStation in early 1997. And this game is a sequel of the original International Superstar Soccer that again was developed for the Super Nintendo, which was again developed for the Super Nintendo in the early 90s. Now if you're very familiar with playing the likes of the very early FIFA games on the likes of the Sega Mega Drive and those systems, you will notice a lot of similarities, as these games would have been the upcoming competitor to the FIFA series at that time, which as we all know would later go on to become the ever popular Pro Evolution or PES series on modern consoles. And as we all know as well, with the likes of the International Superstar Soccer games, unlike the FIFA series, they didn't have licensing for the actual real life names of each of the football players at the time, so they had to use made up names. But that didn't matter because these games were quite fun to play. This game originally was considered to be the best, or if not one of the best, soccer games on the original Super Nintendo and Mega Drive systems back at that time. So by the time it got to the PlayStation, there was already a number of football games already starting to appear. You already had the likes of the FIFA games, you had Actua Soccer, and you also had other adaptations of football games from Konami with the likes of Goldstorm, which I have done previous videos on some of the games. I'll make sure to drop links below in the description. And the game itself did get decent reviews on the PlayStation, and it also consists of 6 different game modes. So you have likes of open game or exhibition, where you can play friendlies against the computer or against your friends. You've also got like international or World Cup mode, where you can play like in a World Cup style event. And you also have a unique feature in this game which you don't see in many other football games, which was called scenario mode. So you had 12 different scenarios that recreated different historical matches throughout the years of pretty much the history of football, and it would put you in a certain point in the game where a team could be winning or losing depending on the situation, and your goal was to try and overcome the situation or to try and win the game. So you could be put in a game, for example, in one of the scenarios you could be playing as Italy versus Croatia, and you're literally put into the game at the very last minute or minute and a half as Italy when they're losing 2-1 against Croatia, and Italy's about to take a free kick. So it's up to you to try and either score the free kick or maintain possession and try to at least equalise before the game ends. So that in itself is quite a unique idea, and it's pretty fun. It definitely has a different take on what football games were back then, and you genuinely do not see that in a lot of modern football games even today. Now even though this game would never have been on the same level as FIFA, as we all know FIFA had a lot of more marketing budgets, it had access to all the player names even from the early games, but this still had a very unique look and feel. Now it played very different to the FIFA games, but it also did kind of resemble it in terms of its graphical abilities, in terms of its visuals. And they're genuinely quite fun games to play. There's even later adaptations when it went on to the likes of ISS Pro 98 and the like. I have done a previous video on ISS Pro 98, and I consider that to be my all-time favourite soccer game ever on any system. I absolutely love playing that game. It was, to be honest, it was probably the only football game I was actually good at, which is why I love it so much. But still, it was just genuinely a really fun experience. But the games after it were definitely or equally as good, even on the likes of the PlayStation 2, PS3 and even on modern systems. So it is really cool to go back and revisit a lot of these older type of games. Now I will say, with these type of old school games, you will find it difficult to play even as a modern gamer. Like say if you're a young kid today trying to play something like this, you'd probably lose interest in it very very quickly. But if you grew up in this era like I did, it will still take a while because you've become adapted to playing more modern style of games. To go back and play something like this definitely takes a while to really get a feel and to get to grips with how it plays all over again, as it definitely is very different. It really is old school. It's not as fluent to play as a lot of other type of more modern games where you do have more control over the characters and your abilities. This game not so much. You had to rely heavily on skill and knowing the controls, but you did have to rely on a lot of luck, because these type of games was very very hard to dribble around players, because if a player was in the vicinity towards you or even close to you, there's a very high chance you would lose the ball, and more often than not they would go down the other end and they would score a goal. So then you'd be just chasing the whole game with your tail between your legs, pretty much trying to catch up. So it definitely offered a very tough challenge. But these games are old school. There's no safety net with these games. You either are good at them or you're not. And if you're willing to persist with them and get good at them and put a wee bit of time in, you will have quite an enjoyable experience. I remember going back playing a lot of these type of games when we were younger. We used to play them on the likes of the Super Nintendo, and before we played the PlayStation, you'd spend your weekends just sitting with your group of mates, just sitting and playing these games. You'd be playing in tournaments or just playing in exhibitions against each other, and you used to have a lot of fun. But what was really cool about these games, and even going back to playing this, the one thing it hasn't lost is its sense of atmosphere. It really captures that whole presence of football games from the 90s, as there's just always something really unique about the atmosphere of football games back then, because again, it was a totally different era of football when you consider it compared to today. Very, very different. You can notice that when you're playing the game, because the passion, the drive, the anticipation, it was all there, and it's still there. Even when you go back to play these, it's quite incredible that it still manages to capture that imagination even today, and it is worthwhile having a look if you want to revisit these old school type of games. Now, they will test your patience. It is very hard to play, it is very difficult to score goals, and it probably will drive you mad. But if you are into these type of games and you want to revisit some of these old classics, you definitely should have a look at this one, even just for a quick kick around with your mates. And I'd love to know your thoughts on International Superstar Soccer Deluxe for the PS1. What did you think of it back in the day? Did you even play it on the PlayStation 1, or did you even play it on earlier consoles with the likes of the Super Nintendo or Mega Drive? And if so, what did you think of it? I'd love to hear the stories you have in this game, so be sure to share them down in the comments below. And if you have enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more reviews and gameplay style videos of other types of soccer games that were released on the PS1, where I do share my thoughts and experiences with everyone, then make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell to be updated when future videos are released. And also feel free to check around other videos on the channel, as I do provide other gameplay and reviews of similar type of games that were also released on the system. So as always, make sure to keep playing those classic games and enjoying them, and keep those gaming memories alive.